What happened? Countdown disappearing? Hold on. It's not live. I guess it is live. Look at that. It doesn't say live there. It just says scheduled. All right. Welcome to Starting Five here on the Five Reasons YouTube. There we go. Now it says it's live. All right. Welcome to Starting Five here on the Five Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick. And at Five Reasons Sports, I almost pulled the Bill O'Reilly there for anybody who remember that. Good morning, everybody. We are sponsored here. Well, first, we're produced here by Manny Chang. We are sponsored here by our friends over at All Pro Construction Builders. You can find them at allproconstructionbuilders.com. That's allproconstructionbuilders.com. Our guy Danny and his family, they run that business and they use only locally made, American-made products. Quality is their specialty. What do you need them for? Well, we know hurricane season has already officially started. That's right. We know it's June, but it's officially started. We can start getting the name storms here anytime. You got to get those storm windows, those storm doors. Again, based in Dade County, but they service Monroe County and Broward counties as well. Danny's a huge Miami Heat fan, texting me during the games. And after about everything that's going on, he's probably watching the show right now. So give him your support. Give him your support over at All Pro Construction Builders. Again, you can find it at 305-484-4429. That's 305-484-4429. Check them out on Instagram as well. You can see all the great work that they do. And it's not just the impact windows and doors. They also do the additions and the renovations. If you want to make changes to your house, they can help you with that as well. So check them out at allproconstructionbuilders.com. We're also sponsored by our friend Mark Brown. You can find him at markbrownpa.com. If you need an estate plan, he's the guy to go to, and you do. If you've got a family, make sure that your money goes to the right place. You don't want it going to the state or going to some relative that you didn't like. No, get your will done today. I did it with him literally in 15 minutes. He gave me the forms. It was priced reasonably and all that. He went through everything with me. He's also a real estate attorney. So if you got real estate, he's the guy to go to. He's got a title company right there in-house. He can handle everything else for you as far as what you would need from a real estate attorney, including if you need a bankruptcy, foreclosure, anything else along those lines, real estate litigation. He's your guy. Based in North Lauderdale, markbrownpa.com. Another huge Heat fan. I'm sure I'll probably see him at the game tomorrow. He'll have better seats than I do. 954-566, or again tonight, I should say, 954-566-5678. That's 954-566-5678. All right, let's get to it. A new episode of Five on the Floor should be posted shortly. So I'm going to try to get into some things that I didn't get into there. There, we spoke about Tyler Hero. So I'll just brief update here. He's not playing in Game 3. You probably know that by now. We've been telling you that we don't really anticipate we're going to see him for the rest of the series. But again, we carried on about that on Five on the Floor last night. We also talked a little bit about Jimmy Butler saying that Bam Adebayo was going to be the reason that they win, which we thought was interesting and, in my view, very good leadership. We touched on that. We also touched on the fact that the Nuggets they respect the Heat, but not too much. That's how it's coming across right now. KCP kind of really struck that note yesterday when he said we played horrible. Said the Heat really didn't do anything to us. Again, backhanded compliments. We've heard a lot of that during the course of the series. I think it's starting to irritate Heat fans a little bit. Not quite to the level that the Celtics irritate Heat fans, but as the series goes on, it will a little bit more. The Nuggets clearly believe they are the better team in this series. They believe the national narrative is related to that. Of course, they had a better record in the regular season. They finished with a higher seed. They have some reasons to believe that. But during the postseason, the Heat have been every bit as good as the Nuggets, if you take a look at some of the metrics at this point. And so, it is starting to be a little bit offensive that the Nuggets think that everything that's happening to them is a result of their own behavior and nothing that the Heat are doing to them, with the exception of Eric Spoelstra. They've been very complimentary of a lot of them are very complimentary of the schemes that Eric's thrown out and some of the misdirection, the fact that they seem to know all of the Nuggets sets. That's coaching, and they've been giving Spoelstra credit for that. But as far as specific players, you heard yesterday Michael Porter Jr. essentially saying something that is true. He's 6'10", Gabe Vincent is 6'2", but that when Gabe Vincent's on him, that he should score against him. But that hasn't happened. I think the numbers were he was 1 of 7 with Gabe guarding him in the last game. So let's get to something a little bit different here today, and we'll get to some of your comments. And we always appreciate you following us here on the channel. And it's this, and it's more of an overall view of the series, which is the Miami Heat have not played a home game in the NBA Finals since 2014. If you remember the last home game they played against the Spurs, it didn't go particularly well. And 8 years for a finals game in Miami is a long time. Now, of course, there have been finals games, but they were in the bubble. 2020, the fans could not enjoy that. This atmosphere tonight is going to be electric. It's unfortunate that the cheapest ticket to get in right now is about $700 because you're not going to have some of the quote-unquote real fans in there. But the crowds in the playoffs, even when the prices have been high, have been really good during the postseason. And, you heard last night Aaron Gordon, maybe a possible future four next to Bam. Aaron Gordon said that it was a top 5 environment in the league. And that environment will matter now. That environment will matter because it mattered in Denver, I thought, a lot in game 1 and game 2. That crowd was lit. I was there, obviously, for both games in Denver. I give the Heat tremendous credit for pushing through that. Those 2 free throws that Bam made at the end when everybody was going crazy and screaming for more noise. I asked Bam about that yesterday and kind of what he thinks about during that process, and he just thinks about process, and I'll get to the $100 parking in a second. He just thinks about process and doesn't think about what he's dealing with at that moment. Just goes back to sort of making them at the end of practice. I mean, it's incredibly difficult to do what Bam and the rest of the Heat did in that environment. And it's going to be incredibly difficult for Denver tonight. And so, here's the way I look at this. You win this game tonight, and all of a sudden, this train starts rolling down the tracks the right way, in the sense of, I think the Nuggets have to start to doubt themselves a little bit because the Nuggets have had it relatively easy during the playoffs. And a lot of that is their doing. They've played extraordinarily well, but they won the first 2 games in every series. They haven't really been tested. That Laker team, look, it was LeBron, it was AD. They made some nice additions during the season. But did anybody really think that was a championship type team that the Lakers had put together this year? I mean, some of the guys they picked up in midseason didn't even really contribute. Beasley didn't really contribute. Hachimura did at times. Russell was either really good or really bad, which is kind of his history. They were relying a lot on Austin Reeves. I mean, Austin Reeves might have been their 3rd most consistent player in the postseason. Did we really think that was a finals team? No. The Heat had a harder path to the finals. I mean, we could talk about what the West is or the West isn't. The West was not that this year. Everybody started, viewing the West as the season went on. Everybody started viewing the West as, okay, if all of these guys are healthy. But the Clippers never got healthy, right? Memphis, which was the biggest challenger to Denver in the regular season, I mean, its star player couldn't stay on the court because he couldn't stay off of IG Live. Okay. Then you take a look at some of the other teams there in the mix. I mean, Phoenix, yeah, when Durant played and everybody was healthy, but we knew their depth wasn't particularly good after the trade. And so, we talk about, okay, they had to get through this gauntlet in the West. No, the Heat had to get through the gauntlet. The Heat had to beat Milwaukee, which was the #1 team in the league by record this year. They had to beat a Boston team on Boston's home floor to get here when everybody projected the Celtics. Look, going into the conference finals, the Celtics, not the Nuggets, the Celtics were the favorite in Vegas. And the Heat beat them on their home floor. They did so after nearly squandering a 3-0 lead, as we know, but they beat them on their home floor in a Game 7. And the Knicks, I mean, look, I didn't think that much of the Knicks, but certainly the national media did. So you take a look at what Denver's had to face and what the Heat have had to face. I would argue that the Heat are more battle-tested right now than Denver is. And it's going to start getting a little nervous for the Nuggets if they lose tonight. So let's get to some of the keys for tonight as we project forward a little bit. I think we're past the point of expecting Jimmy to give you 30 consistently. I just don't think he's healthy enough right now. The way he talked about it yesterday, again, putting a little bit more of the burden on Bam, which I liked, actually. Talking about how he's not going to press to be a scorer. He presses to win. I understand what he's saying. That's Jimmy's philosophy and all that. But I also think some of this is physical. I don't see the explosion that I saw earlier in the playoffs. There was a couple of circumstances in the last game that really stuck out. If you remember that kind of wild lefty layup that he tried on the break, he flushes that, I think, if he's feeling good. Some of the kind of getting into the lane but not wanting to elevate is because I think he's afraid he's going to get it swatted back at him. All right, he's got a couple of days off. He's back in Miami, not dealing with the altitude, any of that kind of stuff. I heard that he didn't go real heavy in practice the past couple of days. I was told that yesterday. So maybe some of the treatment, being here in their facility, all of that stuff will help him, and it very well could. But I don't think you can expect him to score 30. We know that Bam is going to get looks because that's the way that they're playing. No question about it. We also know that Gabe Vincent has found some pockets here where he can get to his shot. And we also know that Duncan has been a big factor for them at times. And Strus, after the awful game one, was better in game two. But I think a huge key tonight, to me, is Caleb Martin. We talked about him a little bit on the podcast last night. They needed his scoring, his energy, his overall offensive impact, because the defensive impact was there in game two. I give him great credit for doing what he did. He helped close that game. He also made a key three, his only basket of the game. But he helped close that game with his defense in game two when he was not feeling good. He said yesterday he is, that the migraines have gone away, whatever it was, altitude sickness, etc. He's not sitting in a dark room anymore. So he should be fine tonight. They got to find a way to free him because his athleticism, his energy, they feed off it a lot. They fed off it a ton in the Boston series, obviously, but they have fed off it at other times during this year because he is the one guy who can make the athletic splash play on this team other than maybe Bam. And so I think it's going to be a big focus for them. And obviously he's going to come off the bench because Kevin Love's going to continue to start. I don't think Spoelstra will make a change after he acknowledged that he made a mistake not going to it sooner. It's going to be Love. It's not going to be Caleb. They need to get 25 really good minutes out of Caleb Martin tonight. I think that's an X factor for them. Denver has tried to take him away a little bit, but I think they may relax on him now that there are other issues that they've got to contend with. Particularly, I think they need to send a little bit more attention to Bam. Not double him every time. That's not the way the teams typically play Bam, but at least force him to be uncomfortable. And maybe you can get some of those turnovers that Boston got against him, especially when Bam puts the ball down low. So I do think there's going to be more attention going to some others. I think they need to give a little more attention to Gabe and not let him get as comfortable as he's gotten. I think this will create some opportunities for Caleb. So that's a key for them, I think, offensively. Defensively, it's this. And Eric Spoelstra can keep denying this all he wants, okay? And he can go after Ramona, and he can go after anybody else that is there. But I do think that the Heat would prefer that Jokic score rather than pass. And he's going to do both, okay? He's going to do both. And again, that's why, I think Spoelstra took offense to it because it seems so simplistic. And this comes in from Mark Craven. I think Jimmy has one or two more playoff Jimmy games left. Very smart of Jimmy to kind of put it on Bam. Caleb is back at sea level. He will roll. Yeah, I think Caleb will be better tonight, as I said. But I think when you take a look at Jokic, again, 10 assists in the first half of game one. Everybody feels involved, okay? He had 4 assists for all of game two. And I thought late in that game, guys like Porter and Gordon looked like they were uncomfortable. And to me, that's why it's a key. The reason that you want to make Jokic score more is because there's a multiplying effect when he's passing to everybody else, okay? Not only is he the best big man passer in the league and maybe the best we've ever seen, okay? Shaq's up there. But Jokic does more from the top, obviously, than Shaq does. Shaq was great down low, getting the double team. Jokic is unbelievable at it. There's no question, okay? But there's a multiplier effect because you get everybody else involved, confident, comfortable, etc. And then when you need them at the end of the game, they're there. They weren't there in the last game. So I do think, okay, that it makes sense if you're going to shade him one way or the other, that you don't want to be doubling him so much that he's just tearing you apart, picking you apart with passes. You don't want that. So I think what happened in game two was fine. If he gets 41 again, he gets 41 again. But you cannot allow Gordon, okay, to get 18. You cannot allow Michael Porter Jr. to get 20. And look, the Denver bench, I think is going to be an issue as we go forward. And I've said this in the beginning of the series. Their bench is very good. Their 3 guys are very good. Okay, I like Christian Brown a lot. Okay, I think Bruce Brown, man, I mean, you would want to have him here. Okay, and Jeff Green's a very good vet. Their bench has been very good. They've given them great minutes. They were the key factor in game 2, okay, in terms of plus minus and all the rest of that stuff. But they don't go deeper than that. And I just think that is going to be an issue as this series drags on. Because Miami is essentially playing 10 right now. I know some of you may not like the 10th and the fact that they're playing Zeller, but they are playing 10 guys, and I think that's going to matter. And so even without Tyler Hero, there's two different things here. Like Denver, you can argue Denver has the better bench in terms of impact of their top three, with the Heat not having, Hero, Oladipo, etc. But the Heat do go deeper. They do go deeper with guys who can affect the game and are playable guys. This comes in from Brandon. Jokic scoring and facilitating the ball will kill us, but if he's only scoring, we give his shots. It's no one else besides Murray stepping up. That's my point. I just think, Eric's going to deny it. Part of it is strategic. Part of it is he doesn't like simplistic questions that make it seem like his job is easy. Like, okay, just let Jokic score. Like, that's not the way that he's designing this, obviously. It's not like, okay, go get yours. It's not that. It's just like you're going to have to try to take something away. And to me, when you double Jokic, what you're not taking too consistently and too quickly, what you're not doing is you're not taking away, his ability to basically pick you apart. And I think that is what they should be most concerned about. So those are three things tonight. One is I think Caleb Martin is a factor. Two is I think, defensively, again, just keep Jokic under that 8 assist mark. Okay. He starts getting over that, things start to get a little scary. And number three, I do think the bench is going to matter tonight, in addition to the crowd. This comes in, Tim McMahon has been very quiet. I know Tim, he's a very good reporter. I think a lot of the national reporters have been quiet on this because they don't really understand the Heat. This comes from Mark Craven last night. Coaching and mental toughness will win this series. I think this is honestly the best coach that the Heat have faced in the playoffs. I think he's better. I think he's better than Bud. I believe that. I think he's better than Tibbs. I think Malone is better than Tibbs at this stage. I think he understands his team maybe better than Tibbs even does at this stage. And I think he's certainly a better coach than Missoula is at this stage. But Spo is still better. Okay? And I think Spo at this point understands this team so well that he can really go to anything at any time. No T-shirts, Broham. I was told no T-shirts for Games 3 or Games 4. Take it up with ownership. They seem to like the towels. I don't know. Somebody tweeted last night, maybe they could stitch all the towels into a T-shirt. A couple other things. $100 parking tonight. People are asking about it. I would expect it. If you're going down there, get down there early. Try to find one of the side lots. My recommendation is, honestly, if you live, I don't know, Hallandale South, or I don't know, Gables North, I would, and again, west, as not too far west, I would Uber. I think tonight, parking in Bayside, if you park there, which is where I typically park, thankfully we get a little discount on it, but I think you're looking $100. I think most of the side lot's going to be 60 plus. So do the math yourself, but that might be something that you want to do. Spencer from Jay Smith, we've been fortunate Bam hasn't gotten in foul trouble. Well, how will that change things if he does? Well, obviously that's a big concern. He's only really been in foul trouble. I looked this up yesterday. He's really only been in foul trouble, and by that I mean picking up the second foul in his first stint. He's only done that 3 times in the playoffs. So to me, as long as he doesn't do that, and I said it. I said, look, in the Boston series, the biggest way the officials can affect the outcome is give Bam 2 early fouls, because it changes the trajectory of Spoelstra's rotations. But look, obviously, if that happens, get more Zeller. You get a little more Love at the 5. I don't know how much you can play Highsmith at the 5 in this series, but that would be a concern. And I believe, actually, we're waiting for the officials as we speak. We should know the officials here shortly. This comes in from Aaron. A possible finals MVP will change fans' view of Bam. It will until the first regular season game in which he takes only 7 shots. I think some of this is permanent in fans' heads. They don't want to change their mind. Even after Chris Bosh, made contributions to a championship, I was still hearing the same criticisms of Chris Bosh that I hear of Bam. Throw that one up one more time, Banny. I'm just trying to get some of these. This comes in from Max. They actually debate on ESPN if Jokic can win Finals MVP if the Heat are champs. They may give Tatum Finals MVP if the Heat are champs. If you're still watching ESPN at this stage, I can't help you. I just can't. That comes in. How's Caleb feeling? Alex was with him yesterday, Alex Toledo. Caleb says he's fine. Symptoms have pretty much all gone away. That's why I talked about him earlier in the episode, about the fact that I'm expecting a pretty big game from him tonight. Could you play Yurt over Zeller? I could, but Spo won't. I don't think there's any confidence in Yurt right now to be in the right place defensively. That is what that's about. And maybe that would have been different if Yurt hadn't gotten hurt this year and he'd been out there the entire season. But he doesn't have confidence in him in terms of positionally on defense. Jonathan, how do we control pace if they try to push it? In my opinion, such a big part of the coaching chess match. That's exactly right, Jonathan. Look, Nuggets talked about that too. Malone talked about that too. They want to play fast. The Heat want to play slow. How do you control pace? Jimmy is their pace setter. Jimmy is the one who can slow things down, isolate the mismatch, get to the basket. Now, right now, as I said, doesn't look to me like he can elevate the way he could before, but they're still going to double him a lot. So he can slow it down, and then they get into their offense that way with him passing out of the doubles, which I think he's made big improvements out of. He's never going to be LeBron in that way. LeBron was the best I ever saw at that in terms of a wing player who would get the double and make the right pass and swing, etc. It's not Jimmy, but he does a good enough job out of it. He gets it to his shooters. He said he would do that last night. Trying to think if I didn't get to any other comments here. We appreciate Manny for producing. New 5 on the floor will be up. By the way, make sure you turn the notifications on here on the channel because I think we put up like 14 videos off of practices yesterday. This comes in from Broham. I'll close with this. Thoughts on the Skip Bayless breach? I'll just say this. This is my general philosophy, and I try to instill this in others who are in the network. Players' personal lives are not my business. They're not your business. Okay? And what's infuriating to me is that people who have the biggest platforms, who don't need to push out information like that, are the ones who do it. Skip Bayless doesn't need to become more famous by outing whatever's going on with Jimmy right now. But he did it anyway. Watch us, okay? We know plenty of stuff that we don't talk about, all right? 99% of what we hear, we don't report because we don't think it's anybody. If it doesn't affect the basketball and the player doesn't talk about it, it's nobody's business. That's my view on it. Nobody knows what somebody else is going through, okay? And I can tell you, I've seen guys go through tremendous personal turmoil and have their best games. So I can't project if it's going to affect the basketball. So why should I be sharing somebody else's personal life with somebody else? Jimmy will be on the court tonight. If he wants to talk about it, he'll talk about it. He doesn't, he doesn't. It's not for Skip Bayless to do. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks to our sponsors, All Pro Construction Builders, markbrownpa.com. Prize Picks, use the code 5, FIVE. Get the initial deposit matched up to $100. And we got pregame show tonight. We got playback tonight. We got postgame show tonight. Greg will be hosting that one. He'll be back after a couple days off. Have a good day, everybody. Game 3. See you at the arena.